Two young women vanish into a Panamanian cloud forest. 10 weeks later, searchers recover a fraction of their remains. When pathologists examine the bones, they find two completely different biological realities. One shows natural decay, the other has been subjected to severe chemical processes. The contrast is precise. Lisanne Froon's remains exhibit standard organic decomposition, with soft tissue still intact. Kris Kremers' recovered pelvic bone is completely skeletonized, stark white, and laced with high levels of phosphorus. Someone, or something, attempted to chemically dissolve biological evidence, while simultaneously leaving behind a meticulously timed sequence of digital logs on their devices. The physical remains point to a logic outside of natural decay, where the traces of human intent compete with the markers of environmental exposure. On April 1, 2014, Kris Kremers, an outgoing creative student, and Lisanne Froon, a methodical psychology graduate, set out to hike the El Pianista Trail. They expected a day hike, but as the afternoon wore on, they failed to return to their host family in Boquete. They were trapped somewhere inside the dense, high-altitude cloud forest. An immediate, massive search grid was deployed. Local guides, indigenous trackers, and international rescue teams with sniffer dogs scoured the dense terrain for 10 weeks. They found absolutely zero physical evidence whatsoever. Panamanian authorities eventually ruled the disappearances a tragic accident. They determined the women simply became lost, fell into a river, and succumbed to the elements. While a wilderness accident sounds plausible, that conclusion faces significant friction from the digital logs and physical artifacts recovered months after the search ended. The first signs of trouble appear in the cell phone logs. Kris dialed the emergency number 112 at 4:39 p.m. 12 minutes passed before Lisanne dialed from her phone. This gap suggests a phased, deliberate assessment of their situation, rather than immediate chaotic panic. Over the following days, the phone activity remained strictly controlled. The devices were powered on for only a few seconds at a time to check for a cellular signal, and then immediately powered down to conserve the remaining battery. Then there is the digital camera. Between the daytime hiking photos and a later burst of nighttime images, one file is missing, photo 509. Digital forensics experts confirm the memory block was permanently wiped, an action that requires a computer, not a simple deletion through the camera interface. On the night of April 8th, 7 days into the disappearance, the camera was used to take 90 flash photos in the pitch-black rain. The images capture random ravines, branches, and one photo showing the back of Kris's head. This timeline forces us to consider when control shifted from the victim's autonomous survival instincts to the calculated manipulation of an unknown third party. 70 days after the women vanished, a local Nobe woman found Lisanne's blue backpack resting on the bank of the Culebra River. By June, the Panamanian cloud forest is deep into its rainy season. The environment experiences 90 to 100% daily humidity and continuous punishing downpours. Yet the backpack was dry. It was relatively untorn. Inside, the electronics were fully functional and the cache set perfectly preserved. A cheap fabric bag resting in a flooding liver basin for 10 weeks should exhibit advanced fabric rot. Its internal electronics should be irreparably corroded. The condition of the backpack is difficult to reconcile with the terrain. The evidence suggests the bag was kept dry indoors and placed on the riverbank shortly before it was discovered. Following the discovery of the backpack, search teams recovered 33 scattered bone fragments along the river. They found only 10% of Lisanne's skeleton and a mere 5% of Kris's. This reveals a severe discrepancy. On the left, Lisanne's remains show natural decay and insect larvae. On the right, Kris's pelvic bone is completely skeletonized and chalky white. Crucially, Kris's bone contains elevated phosphorus, a chemical profile unmatched by the local acidic soils. These markers suggest an individual with intimate geographic knowledge of the river systems and access to specific agricultural caustic chemicals, like lime, which can accelerate skeletonization. The result is a collision of evidence, a digital record of survival set against a biological record of chemical intervention, an outcome that matches the patterns of deliberate staging rather than simple wilderness disorientation. Depositing a pristine backpack and scattering a handful of bones near a violent river effectively crafts the appearance of a tragic accident, a narrative that discourages continued search operations. Panamanian authorities had a strong incentive to protect the local ecotourism industry. A rapid accidental death ruling served that economic need, regardless of the forensic contradictions. Compounding the issue was a catastrophic failure in the chain of custody. The recovered backpack was handled by multiple villagers for 2 days before authorities secured it, likely destroying any potential trace evidence. Investigative bias, combined with the mishandling of physical artifacts, effectively shielded the details of what occurred from rigorous scrutiny. Experts remain divided on the remaining data. Some believe the permanently deleted Photo 509 captured a perpetrator, while others debate whether the night photos were a desperate signal for help or a calculated distraction. The Kremers Froon disappearance stands as a documented case of taphonomic contradiction. The structured digital timelines and the physical biological realities simply refuse to align. The Panamanian cloud forest is chaotic and unpredictable, but the chemical bleaching and physical staging found along the river suggest a level of methodical control that is not found in nature. A crime that leverages the destructive power of the wilderness does not need to leave no trace. It only needs to make the truth look like an accident.